And welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. I am flanked by these awesome gentlemen with nice hats. So my name is Joseph. We've got Adam and Costas as well. Adam, you're not going to be able to stay the full stream with us probably, so give us the update on everything. Anything new? What's going on?
Honestly, it's more of the same. It's one of those situations where no news is good news, but I'm still working on getting some models on the weekday weekend workshop. Um, Still enjoying the new V29 release just came out, so I'm excited to be here as always.
It's a lot of fun. Costas, how you doing?
Ah, pressure, man. Good. Trying to get projects done with Alibre. Starting a new project now with V29. Uh, Loving it so far. Love the new dark mode. I guess we'll get a chance to discuss this a bit more. That's it.
Absolutely. We got some great comments here. Good evening to you. This is gonna be good.
Oh, yep. Oh, yes.
Hello
This is a
from
good one, guys.
Houston. Hello to Canada. We got Minnesota. Cow Tools. Good to have you with us again. So we made a promise in our email going out that we would cover a little bit of FEA today, and how about I just jump right in? It's a really fun skill to have. So here
Kalagamtaga.
I've got a connecting rod in Alibre. If you're a car guy, gotta love connecting rods. They're so distinctive and frankly awesome. But let's talk about FEA. It stands for Finite Element Analysis, also sometimes called Finite Element Method. And this is where we have this beautiful part in CAD, but if we actually put it under load, is it going to fail? Is it going to be strong enough? Where's the stress going to concentrate? Do we need to change the design to make it more light, make it more efficient? All these things start happening now. Before we even open an FEA platform or start an analysis, one of the big questions is, can we simplify the part? And I think that's a really important point. Now, Costas, I know you've done a lot of
Yep.
FEA analysis yourself. I think you'd agree removing cosmetic features. What else would you consider removing?
Well, cosmetic features for sure, fillets, even if they're functional, right? As long as you remember that straight edges can cause singularities, like spots where the stresses appear to become infinite. Straight edges are stress concentration, points, but especially in FEA, if you go really small in your element, which gives you more precision, those straight edges tend to get, tend to report a stress of like infinite. So you need to account for that. So basically, you choose between a faster analysis and a bit of interpreting the data, the results.
Absolutely. Now, I also should, before I forget, there's a sale on the Libre website. I think it's 20% off. So if you want to update or
Nice.
upgrade, I'm going to forget unless I say it now. But yes, Costas, you're right. And one of the things I think we want to ask is, are these fillets doing a job right now? And they're pretty close to a loading zone. So I'm inclined to keep these. But I think one of the things is FEA is iterative. You can test it with fillets, test it without fillets, and see if
Yep,
there's a
sure.
difference, and then you can change fillet size or change meshing quantities until things stop giving different results, and you can kind of come to a convergence that way. So step
Yep.
one, always make sure that we simplify and remove anything cosmetic and ditch things that might cause little tiny slivers that can throw the analysis off. I'm going to open up Meckway here, and Meckway is just one of many things that you can use with the Libre. Here, when I import, I can take this connecting rod that I have, and it imports the native geometry with interoperability. Really nice not to have to convert to a step and reparameterize and do all of that. Now we have some other platforms like SimWise that we're also going to be featuring in the future, and I just confirmed we're going to have an expert with us from SimWise as well. So stay tuned in the next coming episodes because we're going to have some really cool experts. And okay, so the next step is, once we import our geometry, basically what we're doing, if you've never done FEA, is we're going to choose some faces, apply a load on those faces, and see. part becomes, where the stress is, and if we can prove the design. And so in order to do so, we need to build something called a mesh. There isn't really a straightforward formula that tells us what the stress is
Yeah.
when we apply the part. And so a mesh is something that takes a big impossible problem and makes it into thousands of tiny solvable problems. So we're able
Exactly.
to compute the part and see the stresses. It's the translation layer between geometry and how we get the math solved. So mesh builds like network of nodes. But let's talk about what FEA is not. It's not truth. Every step of the way can introduce errors and inaccuracies, and we need to be careful to follow good practices and be skeptical of every step that we take. The final authority of FEA really should be backed up by some hand calculations to verify that we're in the ballpark. So this isn't magic. This isn't something that we just tell the computer to compute and it gives us automatically good results. We've got to be conscious of everything we do. I don't know. Does that land with you, Costas? Or
Oh, for sure. It's it's a bit of an acquired skill, like interpreting the results that you get from FEA, right? Your natural instinct is to just plot the legend and look at what's the maximum stress value, and if it's more than the yield strength of the material, you need to redesign it, which is not true, right? By the way, we just had a message from ex Alexis in Greece. That's the guy. That's the guy that got me here, by the way. So shout out to George from ex Alexis in Greece. So yeah, it's an acquired skill, right? In my video on how to do FEA with FreeCAD on a model that you designed in Alibre, at the end of the video, I show the distribution of stress values, right? FreeCAD gives you a graph of the distribution of stresses, right, across the nodes. And you can see that in straight edges, you might get like a stress that's 5, 6, 8 times higher, right? But out of a sum of like 200,000 nodes, it only appears in 30 nodes, for example. Well, that's not natural. That's a fake reading right there. So yeah, FEA is a massive tool, amazingly helpful, but you need to know what you're looking at.
It's the
so
age-old problem of trust but verify, right?
Right?
absolutely.
Very, very much so. Very much so.
So as we look at geometry, we can see that I have certain faces that are split in half.
Oh, we've
Right?
got
There's
some
half of a
good
cylinder,
questions.
the other half of a cylinder. When we have bolts, there's a face that reflects the footprint of a bolt head coming down on it. And that's not by accident. I actually did some things in Alibre to split the face so that we can import it with certain faces that reflect the loads that are going to go on the part. And we would call these boundary conditions, or the things that we apply to the part that run the stress and constraints. So here I'll say loads and constraints, and I'm going to add a fixed support. Now, fixed support is very general, right? When we add these, we want to be a little bit skeptical and say, would a frictionless support be better? Would a pinned or elastic support be better? So there's all
Exactly.
different kinds of things that we need to ask. Does this reflect real life? And we're going to get into some examples of that as well. Now I'm applying these loads to the geometry before I've meshed. And one of the advantages of that is if I apply it to the mesh instead of the geometry, if I change my mesh, I lose all my boundary conditions and forces. So something to keep in mind. That's my personal preference to save some work for myself. In the positive y direction, let's apply a load of about 750 newtons. And we currently can't see the loads that we've applied because we haven't made our mesh yet. But those are some of the things that we really want to keep in mind. So, yes, is the load distribution realistic? I have made the top face in half to say I don't want this entire cylinder face to be pulling with 750 newtons. It's only realistic to say the top half. Now, is that going to pay off? Is that going to be realistic? We're going to see, and I think there's more to this story.
Oh yeah.
Now, if it's time to build our mesh, we have some interesting options. So I'll right click on my geometry and go to meshing parameters. It gives us all kinds of things. Personally, start pretty coarse and then you can always refine. I kind of have this predetermined thing that shows things about meshing that some good, some bad. So I'm not making a perfect mesh here, but one that I can talk about more. So I'm saying the maximum element size will be 10 millimeters of our mesh, and then the minimum element size is 1. And again, this makes a network of nodes that we solve thousands of small problems that converge into the actual solution that we're looking for. And then I'm going to say 6 and 6. So the minimum number of mesh elements on a curve will be 6. And on any given edge, we'll have at least 6 elements along that edge. Again, to play with it as you do and
Yeah.
come up with the best mesh.
There are a lot of things. I understand we're on a live stream, but just that window menu, right? Just a menu window. We could be discussing for 45 minutes, right?
Yes, it gets deep.
Yeah.
So now that I've generated a mesh, we're going to be loading it into our view here.
There you
We
go.
have this network of approximations. We've turned apart into a whole bunch of triangles. If this sounds like a step file, it's not all that different. And this is kind of a mess to look at. So we can change our view to see the outer surfaces here. And there's a few things that maybe we would like to review. A big thing is, look at this triangle right here. This is a beautiful triangle because it's just about an equilateral triangle. We might call this a good aspect ratio. If we come down here, look at these triangles that are not
That's a good
equilateral
one.
triangles. We care about that. We would probably call that an element of Jacobian geometry, or how much in ratio or how distorted is this mesh. It's probably not possible to have every triangle be perfect, but that's what we're going for. And so when we see things that are really distorted, we ask, are they in a place that's really critical? And are they going to cause any errors? Do they converge into like a little needle? But I'd say that we have this big load path here, and then we have tiny triangles here. And so as far as Jacobian goes, these are probably more of a small footnote than something that we are going to have a showstopper over. But what do you think, Costas?
Um, so you chose the maximum element size at 10 millimeters. You chose the minimum at 1, right?
Yep.
In that menu we were talking about earlier. Um, what is that fillet size? Is like 3-4 millimeters?
Somewhere in there, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So if you drop like your minimum size to 1/10 of your minimum of your smallest fillet, you would get away further away from that situation. Maybe not eradicated completely, but then what you're doing is that you're creating a huge mesh
Yes.
and a huge mess, and and you're taxing your computer and measures like the piece of software that does this meshing. They're very very memory hungry in terms of RAM, right? So I've had, especially in older PCs, I've had measures fail because they ran out of RAM. So that's another thing to consider, right? There is a physical limit to what you can get done with your current system. But yeah, generally speaking, that's not ideal, but
Yep.
it shouldn't fail while solving.
Yep. And a big question is, what are you solving for? Right now, I'm solving for quick results so I don't keep everybody on the live stream waiting. So
There you go.
Uh, absolutely. There are times in thin areas where if you have bending, you're going to want to have a lot of layers across that little thin area so
Exactly.
that you can have the resolution to see where's the zero axis, how's the stress being distributed. So setting up your mesh is so critical in so many ways. And I might point out the important parts are things like holes to have a fine mesh on, and like you said,
Yeah.
fillets, and also where the stresses are. And I wanted to point out that our mesh is looking pretty large here. And MechWay offers a really cool option where I can select the face of a mesh and just click on Refine. And it makes the mesh twice as fine. And I can do that again and again. So we can have a coarse mesh throughout the model that is light and easy to compute, but in really important places, we can refine it to get something that is more substantial and high resolution. And this is not the best mesh in the world. And I kind of have done some of that on purpose so that we can view the results and see potential problems and know what to look for. All right, so we've got a mesh. We have our forces. We have said that on where the bolt head is, that is staying put. We're not moving these fixed places on the bolt heads. We're applying a force up here, and the mesh is what calculates or helps us do the math to solve this problem. I'm going to go ahead and solve for this, except I just remembered we're going to fail because I need to add a material.
Yeah, that'll do it.
You get in a hurry when you get live, what can I say? So we'll assign a new material. Mechanical, isotropic, let's say 200 GPa, ratio of about 0.29-ish. That's steel-ish.
Steel, yeah. Low carbon steel, that is.
And it looks like it didn't take that material, so we'll go ahead and there we go, isotropic, 200 GPa, and then 0.2.
0.29, yep.
9. Yes, thank you. And I'm still getting material error, so we'll just make sure. Assign new material. I think I was just doing that on the wrong part there. There we go. And we are solving. This is not the best mesh in the world, so we're going to see what kind of results that we have.
We'll get to everybody's questions here in a second. We have a couple.
Oh, there are some great questions already, like from the get-go.
All right, I need to catch up on questions. Do you see any good ones while we solve?
Yeah, there's a great one, and it's already being discussed in the comments, but that's a great one, right? For 3D printed parts. Okay, so we could do another like 6-hour stream just on that question alone. So 3D printed parts. Araf already answered that you need to take into account that you model the infill, right? But let's say that you have a 3D printed part that's printed solid, like 100% infill. You still have different strengths along different directions because across the layers, it's pretty strong. It's like pretty close to an injection molded part. But along the layers, it's pretty weak because you only have layer adhesion. In that sense, 3D printed parts behave a lot like wood.
I was going to say the same thing with grain or against the grain.
Yeah, against the grain or across the grain, exactly. So, which is the same thing. Anyway, so you need to take that into account. Now, that is not an isotropic material, but there are finite element analysis software that will allow you to input that discrepancy, right? To define the difference. And I found that if you take into account that layer adhesion is like 20% or 15 to 20% of the strength of the material, right? You can get some decent results. But
I would love to see a FEA dev basically take some features of a modern slicer and combine it with FEA tools to be able to slice your model and then create a mesh and then do some FEA calculations.
You know
that
what?
That way you get accurate infill.
Imagine this. Couple what you just said, right? With a robotic arm doing the printing, where you can change the layer direction while you're printing the part, and you just created something really interesting. And there is research in that area, but at the moment it's just in universities, and there are random papers being put out, but nothing that everyday people can
If
use, right?
anybody here is amazing at C sharp or Python, go and work on the FEA analysis part of FreeCAD and add that in, will you?
There you go.
There you go. So we were able to calculate and we were able to get our results here.
Nice.
Yes, we might call this our von Mises stress. I'm not very good at pronouncing French things though. Von Mises.
Isn't it German? Is it, or is it French?
Yeah, Poisson is French. I know that. So
Poisson.
Poisson. Yes.
Poisson ratio. Yeah. Poisson is
Yes.
French. That's a French guy. Von Mises sounds like a German name.
All
Pretty
right.
sure it's
But
German.
anyway.
Could be wrong.
Yeah, so we've got this beautiful
No.
thing. Now, I think some people might be looking at this and saying, look, we have almost no stress going throughout our part. This is a
Yeah.
great win. But
Yeah.
we're looking at scaled numbers, right? What if that blue is 90% of the part's capacity to hold
Exactly.
stress? So we can't pat ourselves on the backs just because the colors are looking low.
Not just yet.
And that might actually indicate a problem because it looks like we're getting the highest stress in a very concentrated area. And this indicates a few problems. So the colors are pretty, but we got to do some validation to see how legitimate they actually are. And I think one of the things that we should start off with is this animation of the part being pulled. Of course, this isn't the real displacement of the part, but we look at this and ask ourselves, is this a realistic version of how this part is going to interact under force? And if something is going terribly wrong, then we know there is a mistake with how we set up the analysis, and it's a good high-level indicator. We also might want to do a few other checks. So we might want to balance our forces. And so here we've applied a 750 Newton force upwards, as you can see there. So
which
we
is very
should
small,
have,
by the way, for a Conrad, right?
it is
They
pretty
take
small.
like during the combustion stage, they take close to a ton of weight in load, like 1,000 kilograms of force. So 750 Newton is like just tickling it.
This is an idling analysis.
Okay. It's like you're going downhill, no throttle.
Right. So I can look at reaction forces, and I can say take all the reaction forces and evaluate what they are. And we get negative 749.99999, right? So we lose a little bit of forces in the X and Y direction. But this is a good litmus test because then if I say all my forces in the X, that's almost zero if you're going
Almost
e to
zero,
the negative
exactly.
11. Evaluate again, negative 11. So that's another thing that we were able to balance our forces. I don't know if anybody would take an FEA seriously if there's not a verification that the forces have been balanced.
Yep, exactly. And many times that reaction force is the result you're looking for, because you might be you might be running this entire thing, this entire analysis, just to select a bearing, like a plain bearing, right?
Yep.
So then the reaction force is the result you're looking for. You don't really care about the stresses developing.
That's a great point. So when we come into here, this area is really problematic, and I think it teaches us a few lessons. One, I have something that is almost as red as it can be on the scale, and it's butting up to against something that is almost as blue as it can be. So this is a call for a few things. The first one, there is a stress gradient, right? There's a stress that is high in some places and it goes lower, but we can't really see that well because we haven't refined our mesh. We need more nodes in this area to get good resolution. That's something that we want to look for because we see the colors, but it's not giving us very valuable information. And another thing is we have a sharp edge right here, and we can tell the stress is building up right there. This is a lesson that we need to check this geometry to make sure that it's going to work.
Yep.
When we scale this, say in megapascals, we're at 67 megapascals, and that's we'll yield that probably a minimum of 200, depending on the kind of steel, I think. But at least we're not breaking.
200. I don't think there is a Conrad in production that has a yield strength of 200 gigapascals.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think so. Like, minimum would be, what is the next one up in the Dean designations? I think it's 275.
yeah.
Should be, yeah, which is like a 1040 steel. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't used these conversions for a while, but
Yeah,
yeah.
and it could probably go way higher too. I think with
Yeah, of course, of
how they
course.
treat it.
You can even have like motorsport connecting rods could be like stellite, titanium alloys, all that stuff. Then you
Absolutely.
go like really high numbers.
So these are a lot of cases that we want to look at. Now we can scale the colors, and we can ask:
There you go.
is this realistic? Also, would we be getting a lot of stress in the regular function? Now, if you recall, I split this face into two cylinder halves, and uh, maybe I want to pat myself on the back and give myself some brownie points and say, "Oh, look, I applied the force, on the half that you see the force." But I might want to question: is this something that would be actually realistic in real things? And I think one of the lessons is if we set up the study a certain way, we get results in that certain way, but it may not reflect reality. So we could probably do a better study. Let me load some results here.
You can always do a better study.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem with finite element analysis, right? It does depend on the computer you have.
Well, he's loading that up. There's a really good question. Do you have some proposals for CFD working well with Alibre?
That's a great question. I'm kind of wondering. Oh, it looks like my import completely failed. Oh, maybe not. So for CFD, I don't know if that's on the radar yet, but I would sure like to see CFD. So we are going to have some other FEA people with us, and maybe that could be a direction that we could look into. I love that suggestion.
And then I already answered this in the chat, but Golden Nice, will the VOD after the stream be available? It sure will. On the official Libre channel, as well as mine and Costas, and all the places. So it will be available after the stream.
I read that as Golden Knights for a second, and I thought, "Ooh, a hockey fan," but they're in the final bracket.
Excuse
I
me.
show my stress again. I don't know if this is going to work. I got kind of a funky import on it. But I did something different here. I made an assembly. In fact, while that's solving, I can pull it up. Where I put a pin right in the middle of our rod that would represent the wrist pin.
Exactly.
And then I put a contact constraint between both of the bodies to say these are in contact. And I think we might get a much different result just by adding another step to make it more realistic.
Yep.
Do the colors look pretty?
So this guy is Bill Black. I believe he's Taco Guy, right? So, for
Yeah,
instance,
yeah.
with a cast or forged metal part, is there an assumption made that there are no internal stresses that will add or subtract from the reaction of the model to
Excellent
stress
question.
inputs?
Excellent question. That's an excellent question. Yeah. So Bill Black has touched on a huge subject there, right?
Yep.
The problem with that particular question is that you do not know what the internal stresses are unless you do some test runs, right? Some destructive testing. But when you do have that insight, when you do have that information, you just sum the stresses that you get from the finite element analysis with the internal stresses as they appear, and that's about all you can do. I do not know of a way. Well, I guess you could you could model them as pressure loads in your finite element analysis, but you're making way too many assumptions. Just like with 3D modeling, I would say the the least complicated. Like in 3D modeling, we say that you need many features that have simple sketches. Finite element analysis, you could say that you have a similar rule where you have potentially many simple pieces of information rather than trying to build a very complicated one and throwing it at the PC. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense to anybody.
Yeah. That's a great question. So yeah,
That's a
when
great
you
question.
when you go to show that you can add a pin in the middle and make it even more realistic, right? There's always a better analysis, and it's really kind of an iterative process. Try it with this mesh. Do you get different results if the mesh gets finer? Eventually, you start converging on the same results with different settings, and that's when you know things are at least consistent. And if you're running it on a really good basis, that's uh, that's pretty encouraging. So the thesis, I think, is have it connected to the real world. Do some hand crank calculations to make sure you're in the right ballpark. Make
Oh,
sure
for
that
sure.
you question every step of the way and understand what meshing implications are. So, just a quick overview on what that's going to look like. We're going to revisit this topic in even more detail, and we're actually going to have someone from SimWise come and show what the Alibre add-in for FEA looks like, which will be pretty exciting.
There are softwares that specifically simulate casting or forging and can show the internal stresses are going to be with the right modeling and simulation. Very nice. Very good to know.
That's very interesting. I'll admit right off the bat that my weakest area of expertise is casting, forging, that sort of stuff. So I've never used that type of software, but I can imagine that you know because internal stresses come from differential cooling, right? When the part cools at different rates, that's how you get your internal stresses. And if they can simulate the cooling, I bet you they can get a pretty good idea of what those stresses are. So yeah, for sure, that's very interesting. It's a nice insight into that side of engineering by Araf.
That's
Basically,
true.
trust but verify, like we
This
were
is
already.
a old video on my channel here, but this was a SolidWorks injection mold analysis that was kind of cool.
Yep.
I think it's kind of along the
Yep.
same lines, but you can see it fill, you can see how the plastic's acting and all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I also did that. I also have that in my I also have one in my channel. It's very really. I don't know if it's public. I don't know if it's public still. But Inventor has a nice simulation module for injection molding.
Yeah, so pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
Um, Let us know how. Let's see.
that's a pretty cool, like wallpaper right there.
Yeah,
I
Supra.
love that.
let's pretend
I
like that's
love
the
that.
rod going into the Supra, huh?
Is that
Yeah,
a Mustang
skinny,
way in the front?
skinny.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because you need to give the Mustang a head start, or otherwise it's not really fair, is it?
Well, I'm a bit of a super fan, so I probably shouldn't weigh in on this
Yeah.
one.
Well, yeah. I might drive a French car, but I'm JDM, deep down.
Gotta love it, man.
Yep.
The 2JZ was such a crazy engine.
Yeah. 2JZ RB26. Like, there's another straight six from Australia, the six-cylinder Bana motor. That's a good one too.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah.
Now, I think when you do FEA, it's really important to be able to split your faces uh, because I need
Extremely
something that
important.
shows the footprint of the bolt, or I can't really select it to add a force, at least not conveniently. So we can, if I'll just run through that real quick. I think it really is.
Man, if I had known about that method that you developed, to split surfaces in Alibre, if I'd known that, earlier, it would have saved me weeks. you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
along a few projects.
Oh,
That's such a clever thing. That was an awesome video, man. I'm telling you, I love that one.
I appreciate it, man.
Oh man, it's so useful.
So the basic way to do it is I have a model. I want to split this face to simulate, maybe the footprint of a rod pushing into it. So I will activate a sketch, make a sketch around the area that I want to split.
Corvette v Superman. It's been done before. Let's not get into that.
As long as it's one of the old Stingrays and not one of the modern ones they come up with of the past few
Well,
years.
the modern ones, yeah, but the modern ones are closer to the Supra. That's the issue there, right?
I love
Yeah.
Corvettes.
Love Corvettes, by the way. I absolutely love Corvettes. Right? Let me just say that. But
So
Dino dragging a Supra, that 2JZ was a beast.
it was something, man.
You just can't beat the LS.
So I make an extrude on the face that I wish to split, and then
Let's
I
get
can
back to CAD.
delete face. Now we have just a hollow surface with the thing that we want to split that's missing, right? So we start a sketch on here. I can convert this as a figure. I can extrude, and then once again, go back to surface. And I only care about the bottom surface of this cylinder. So I'll select delete face, get rid of these faces. And I've created a surface here that fills up that missing spot. And then I have my regular surface that I converted. I'll just stitch that to a solid, right? Stitch to solid, select these two, and I've got a split face. Now this is useful for creating a face for a contact patch, but it's also useful if you want to add text or a label, like a warning label or a logo, if you want to render something that has a different spot without adding these micro extrudes that might throw off mesh or do anything else. So it's very, very useful when you want to split face and create these kinds of geometry. And there's more than one way that you could use that.
Very nice. Little quick mini tutorial for everybody there.
By the way, those micro extrudes is the way I used to get things done when I needed to. And oh man, it's just you just go down a rabbit hole, and they're so restrictive with what you can actually get out of the analysis. And this method that you showed to everyone is like so much better.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Micro extrudes really hurt because you're like, I have to put tiny mesh along that little wall.
Exactly. Which makes everything worse, basically. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
that is my wife. When we're together, she usually has to drive because if she's shotgun, she'll get motion sick. So
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay.
I'm glad she's a good driver, though. So no problem.
That's good.
Yeah, but the solution to that is you just get like a stupidly fast car, and then they don't have time to complain.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
That's interesting. Yeah, similarly, if we're modeling a 3D printed part in FEA, the part would have to go through the slicer process first. You'd have to have a GPU farm under the test to crunch all those numbers.
That's very true. That is very true. Finite element analysis can get very hungry, resource hungry, very, very quickly. Very, very quickly.
I think one of the things that really helps with that is using a quadratic mesh, which we didn't cover. But let's see if I can. Anyway, on your triangle, you can put a node at the midpoint of the line, and the node can have some curvature to match curvature better. It's known as an integration point, and it's also another
Yes.
spot where you can solve. So it increases the number of nodes and resolution without drastically increasing everything.
Yep.
Oh, that might be a good one. Mesh optimization.
Mesh optimization. Oh man. There are methods you can use, but just like it's better to prevent a disease than to give a medicine for it. It's better to simplify your model before going through the entire FEA process. But if you have to have some features for whatever reason, you decide that no, this feature needs to stay in. Um, Mesh optimization is basically what I do is like two different things. One is minimum and maximum size of elements, right? And the other is most measures will allow you to select a specific area, just like Joseph showed earlier, right? Select a specific area and increase the mesh size or decrease it or manipulate it or whatever. Some measures also allow you to select an area and give it different maximum and minimum element sizes. So the idea there is you need small elements give you better precision, but you run a higher risk of having a singularity in your calculations where you get infinite stress when in reality there's not going to be infinite stress, right? Um, and it actually runs slower, whereas larger elements means you have a more robust analysis, less chance of it to fail. Uh, Joseph mentioned the Jacobian. That's a way of taking the derivative of a matrix, seeing if it's solvable, right? So larger elements make for a more favorable Jacobian. It runs faster, but you get a less granular, uh, distribution of the stresses and a bit less information.
Yeah, I'd say meshing is an iterative process. So run multiple studies and go finer every time. Start coarse and go fine because meshing is exponential, right? You follow an exponential curve for the amount of processing to the point where you make one tiny change and it's hours different of processing. So
Yep.
try to stay off of that curve, and when you start getting more similar results and things start to converge, awesome. When you don't get massive color scales across different faces, awesome. So
Yeah.
keep it
Those are
iterative and
very good points. Very good
yes.
points on how to check.
Uh, Bill Black.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've checked the price of RAM recently, but I'd rather buy a video card than any kind of RAM right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll buy like a 5060 or a 9070 non XT before I'd buy 32 gigs of DDR5 right now any day.
Yeah.
But that's a good point.
Yep.
This is a good one too. Have the mesh fine enough that one color zone is at least a few cells wide. I
That's a
think
good
that's
one.
great advice.
That's good advice. Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. Yep.
And that's our winner from the last one.
Yep.
Won some maintenance, so good to have you back.
Oh, Araf is a regular viewer, I think.
Yep.
He is.
Waves at Adam from a different
Yeah,
window.
he moved to my chat from the Alibre chat. He's got multiple tabs open. He's got us all.
Hey,
Yep.
that's
There you
awesome.
go. There you go.
There was once someone that when I used to stream a lot more, doing video games, I had someone tell me that he just keeps my stream open on a tab all the time. So whenever he just hears my voice talking, he knows that I'm online, just out of nowhere. Okay.
There you go.
This is an interesting one. Took a numerical methods class that taught about doing 3 different grid solutions, using all 3 to try and estimate the true value. Is this something that should be done in FEA?
Yeah, basically that's what Joseph is describing, right? When you change up your parameters, but your results are relatively stable, then you know that your results are not fake. They are results that you expect to see in real life when when you load up the part. So it is very much a a similar thing to do. Yep.
Sounds very scientific. Like, I'm not an FEA guy, but basically, when you test something scientifically, you don't do just one test and say, "Yep, that's the correct answer." You do,
That's basically it.
a couple tests, sometimes dozens or hundreds of tests. I mean, if this is going to be a part that's going to go on hundreds of thousands of production units, and you're going to want to spend quite a long time making tests. And as soon as you get those results solidified and they're the same, and you can trust those results, and you can repeat those results, then you know what you're after, and what the actual solution is.
And also, because you mentioned like large production runs, right? If you're making a part in large numbers, you do the FEA, and what you do next, you go and break the part,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
You put it on a hydraulic press, you load it on it, until you have it in pieces, and then you check: was the failure point, was it close to where the FEA showed me the red color? Like if I'm going to be like that. Because then you know that, okay, the FEA did predict the stress pattern, so I know I can trust it. If you break it and it breaks at a different point, there's something wrong with your finite element analysis, and you cannot trust it, and you need to go back. You need to go back in. And since we're doing it, I'll tell you a little trick that one of my professors taught me in university. Maybe everybody knows it, but I kind of liked it when I first learned. Is you make your stress analysis and you load your part with 1 Newton. That's your load, 1 Newton, right? And then what you plot is your safety factor, right? And what you get then, right? So let's say that you're shooting for a safety factor of 3, right? Wherever you get a safety factor of, so basically when you have a safety factor, wherever you have a safety factor of 1, your safety factor number is going to be exactly the force that the part is going to break at, right? By loading it up with 1 Newton, and then instead of getting the stress plot, you get the safety factor plot. You know exactly where the number in newtons that your part is going to break at. So if you want to go backwards, for example, right, that's pretty useful to do in many cases.
This one is true but depressing. We're not going for a very colorful model, and well, yeah, but I like the colors.
Yeah.
No, it will scale with all the colors. So,
Well, actually, funny that you say that, Bill, because you are going for a very colorful model. If it's all blue, you're wasting material. If it's all red, it's going to break. So what you're actually going for is a nice distribution, right? So, yeah.
yeah.
And
When I
that's what
see,
topology optimization does, by the way. Just runs quick FEA tests and optimizes. It takes away material from the blue and adds it to the red, and that's about it.
that would be another cool topic. But when I
Oh,
see a
yeah.
model that's all blue, the first thing I think of is where's the stress concentration of that little tiny bit of red that's turning everything blue by scale.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that's very, very correct as well. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yes, exactly.
yeah, maybe that does make me happy. Then I see the pretty colors everywhere. We're going for pretty models, so
Optimizing is the whole point. It sure is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Sure is. Sure is.
yeah.
Yep.
There you go. So yeah, what we saw with the rod earlier, right? Of course, if we're assuming 750 newtons is the max that we want, which is very light in real life, but that would be an invitation that let's remove material and actually get a lighter part out of this. So
Yep.
optimization,
Exactly. Exactly.
it shows where all this
Exactly.
opportunity.
And in the example that we did earlier, right, where you had a few red triangles near that very edge, right, and right next to that red triangle, which was exactly at a vertical edge, like a knife edge, right next to it, you had the blue. Joseph very correctly said that you need more granularity there, so you need smaller cells to see what's going on. But I would also say that that could be a singularity in the calculations. That could be a fake red, right?
Yep.
And you need to take that into account as well.
Absolutely. And that's a great point. Are you getting a fake red on a flat face right in the middle, or is it near an edge? Or,
Yeah.
it depends so much on the situation. And sometimes they have to be little detectives. And
Yeah, for sure. And that's where changing up the mesh parameters helps, because if it keeps appearing in the same place, then it's not fake. But if changing the parameters, it shifts around by a few cells, then something's going on.
Absolutely. Anybody have any CAD questions? Oh, I guess we're looking for a smooth gradient with no angry looking measles. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's, you could say that.
Yeah. And get vaccinated for the measles. I think having a good mesh helps out with that too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it comes down to experience. You'll learn more as you do it more, but luckily we live in this fantastic modern age with the internet, so you can go and probably get help on about anything for free. So I'm sure there's hundreds of thousands of videos out there on FEA and all the tips and tricks.
I'm seeing an interesting question. I think I might have a model for that. So give me a second to pull up a model.
Cow tools. Yep, I saw that too.
Okay.
Argentina, welcome to the stream.
Yep. Oh man, that's so cool.
Oh, where is
Argentina? That is so cool.
Yeah, a lot of people from around the world. We got Argentina. Someone said, "Yep, British Columbia, Arizona,
That's
Turkey,
so cool,
Staten
Yeah.
Island, Northern Michigan, Southern Michigan down here, Houston, Texas, Alberta,
Greece.
Yeah.
Keith Greece here.
Yep.
And Excelixis is also from Greece.
A date for weldments. To my knowledge, that's still a soon. That'll be the dot
Soon
release. It'll be the 29 dot release. Probably the next few months, Joseph, something like that.
Yeah, I know the developers are working at it real hard. I don't have much of a ballpark figure on that one right now, but they're
Stay on the
working on it.
forums. Stay on the forums. That's where you'll hear updates first.
Okay. I think I've got one for Cow Tools question here. I want my pin to follow in this groove, and that's really hard to do because there isn't an assembly mate for tangent continuous across all these faces. So there's a few solutions, but I think the biggest one that we can come up with here is I've got a part that as I move it, it of course moves it linearly, but the second I let go of it, it snaps it in the right spot. If you were to make an animation out of this, you could get it to be animated and look really smooth, but it just doesn't look smooth in your user interface. The question is, how did we do this? So I'll jump into this part. We're going to edit right here in the context of the assembly. And when I create this sketch, you can see that I've imported this edge right here. And I have a spline that runs along this edge. And then I've said, I want this part to be tangent to the spline. And so and that's how I define the position of the circle. And so when I move the circle down here, Alibre rebuilds and puts it into the right position. So it's how we can get things to follow along tracks. I wish it was continuous in the UI, but hopefully that is a good solution. Let me go find that video, and I'll put it in the comments, and so you can see in step-by-step detail how it's done.
Yep. In the meantime, if I can just highlight another comment here.
Absolutely.
We might get back to Cow Tools afterwards. From Argentina, that's a very good tip right there, right? If you have symmetry in a model, do not simulate the entire model, right? Because as many nodes as you save from your analysis, it just becomes easier and easier, and you can get it more precise for the same resources or time. So that's a very good tip, right? Just use your whatever symmetry the model has. Just go ahead and use it. For example, I know that for some parts of simulating a wheel for a car, right? They just simulate a piece of the pie. They don't simulate the entire thing. Stuff like that. If you have symmetry, use it. Reduce the number of nodes as much as you can.
All right, so putting a link in the chat here for the garage question. You should be able to follow that.
Mm-hmm.
This one looks interesting. Probably for getting a more accurate stress in that area, you should use a no linear material and define a steel with elastoplastic properties. That's
Yeah,
we haven't talked about linear versus nonlinear. That's
yeah,
probably a good topic to get into too.
yep. Yeah. Because what Sergio basically is getting at there is if your part, if the stress deforms a very small part, a very small area, a very small zone of your part, that's where a micro crack will start, and allowing for the simulation to take into account plastic deformation will give you a better insight into that. Um, yeah, and you do need some pretty decent systems, guys, to run these types of simulations, right? Uh, it's by no way a guarantee that if a PC can run a Libre, it can also do these types of things, right? I just want to reiterate that finite element analysis is resource hungry. But that's a very good tip for if you need to cut it very fine for aerospace design or something.
Get yourself a good gaming PC. I
Yep.
was actually told that in person, by the way, by
Yep.
a CAD specialist a few years ago.
Yep.
Get yourself a gaming PC, and you could get yourself a nice desktop, or I mean a laptop if that's your thing. But those GPUs are designed to render meshes and calculate physics and
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So
Exactly.
get yourself a gaming PC. Um, and if you're a business owner, get your guys some nice PCs because it will pay off in the time that they save in waiting for the results.
Exactly. Exactly. I actually feel very strongly about that. Like gaming GPUs against workstation GPUs, right? Where I'm not going to mention the company, but let's face it, there are only two of them. Um, you you pay like twice, three times the price for the workstation card, and what you get is the exact same chip, right?
Yeah.
But it's underclocked, so it performs worse, right? You paid more for it, but they say, but well, this will never fail. Of course, it's never going to fail. You're not. It's not even working. Why did I pay for it? So yeah, that's something I feel very strongly about. And another thing I have against SolidWorks, I don't know if you know, but SolidWorks caps the frame rate at 30 FPS if you do not have a workstation card. Isn't
Wow.
that awesome? Adam, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, that's the joys of you know
Why?
because they got a deal with Nvidia. That's
The
why.
so what that comes down to is essentially a whitelist of GPUs,
Exactly.
which
Yeah, yeah,
creates a bigger problem because then if you're using a GPU, if you're on the cutting edge and it's not on that list yet, then you're
yeah.
screwed.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
you are. But I mean, you're kind of screwed because you bought SolidWorks,
It's that is absolutely insane to me.
isn't it? And
I
to
mean,
my knowledge, SolidWorks are the only guys that are doing that. Uh,
It, I
Creo
mean,
don't do that. Alibre definitely does not.
I'm a little bit crazy though because I still wish they wouldn't have gotten rid of SLI. So,
Oh yeah.
because
Well,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
for still less than the price of a uh, proper
workstation card. Yeah, you can
workstation
get two gaming
card,
ones.
you can get two gaming cards and absolutely
Exactly.
blow the performance out
Exactly.
of the water.
Yeah. Might not scale in gaming, but it definitely scales in
Oh
studies
yeah.
like this.
Well, when you need all the CUDA cores you can get, same thing with like
Exactly.
video rendering as well.
Exactly.
You need
Yes,
all the
video
CUDA
rendering as
cores you
well.
can
Yes,
get.
very good point.
So,
This is a good clarifying point. So, Cal Tools is saying that for their garage, they have two cylinders that are going to be connected with the panel. I don't anticipate that changing anything. Of course, this is a
Yep.
very simple example of how this mate works, but you should be able to just mate the other cylinder to whatever position this one is, so they'll follow correctly.
You will get the same behavior.
Yeah.
It's not beautiful, in quotes, to look at it, but it is a very robust way of doing it. Alibre is really good at recalculating these things. Um, I also have another good question here, right? So he's a mech engineering bachelor with a little FEA background. So uh, kudos, Marcus, mechanical engineer. What's the fastest way to learn it, theory first or practice? Well, the theory behind finite element analysis is some pretty hardcore math, um, like pretty hardcore linear algebra. If you do understand what a Jacobian is, the mathematical definition of it, the Jacobian of a square matrix, for example, you're on your way to understanding the theory. The theory, by the way, I'll try and do a quick one. Um, you're taking a solid piece and you're creating tetrahedrons, or in the quadratic version, you're dividing up those faces with even more nodes. But the idea is, um, it's like connecting every single node that you see on screen is connected by a little spring, right, that has the same elasticity as the material you just input. And then, well, roughly, yeah, okay. And then you're using Hooke's law to solve all of that in 3 dimensions, and you're creating that the matrix of those systems of equations, and you can get matrices of upwards of, 10,000, 50, 20, 50,000 elements, and you're solving that. So that's a very, very rough uh, theory behind what actually finite element analysis is. It's just changing the bending equations and all that to just iterating Hooke's law over and over again. So the theory is really complicated. So if you're not interested in doing some really hardcore math, I would say practice. That's where I was getting at.
I'm going practice too. I saw this one. You don't want or need mathematical theory to use it.
Yeah.
Um, that's a great point, though, because there's always it's always beneficial to know what's going on under the hood.
Oh yeah.
But my brother-in-law got his master's and did some FEA by hand, and it was a
Oh,
matrix with a differential equation in every spot of the
that's
matrix.
it. That's it. Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and I
That's it.
said,
That's what you get at.
love it. I'm going to do practice.
this is a really interesting one, and then I actually have to depart after this. But
Yeah.
real quick, the right answer is a good balance. So they work in tandem, your CPU and your GPU, and so if you get an old 7th gen Intel i3, but then you get the latest and greatest RTX 5090, that 5090 is just not going to cut it. It'll work, but you create a bottleneck for yourself that is just not necessary. Um, so really, again, you would get better performance out of a good balance than spending all your money on a good GPU or a good CPU and then not as much on the other. So, if you're getting a 5070, then I would go for an i7 or a Radeon R7. If you're getting a 5080, then I'd probably go for like an overclocked i7, or maybe even overclocked Radeon R7, or maybe even start looking into R9s and i9s, stuff like that. So just really a balance is the best way to kind of to look at it, because otherwise you're going to create a lot of bottlenecks. That's a good point. A lot of programs only use CPU. Um, GPU is only sometimes utilized, so that is a very good point.
Yeah, but
Um,
but but even so, the balance is good because just do this quick test, right? Just if you have a processor that has onboard graphics, right? You can switch Alibre to use that onboard graphics and just work with it for like 5 minutes like that, and then switch it back to your graphics card. You will see that there is a noticeable difference. Now, will Alibre be twice as fast if you buy a GPU that's twice as expensive? No, it's not going to be twice as fast, right? But it's not like you don't need it at all. So for CAD, CPU is more important, and CPU clock speed is even more important, let's say, than core count. But GPU is not unimportant, is what I'm trying to say.
Especially when you start getting into like realistic rendering and stuff like that,
Oh yeah, for sure,
and
for sure.
you start moving around assemblies, and if you have an assembly with 400 completely different parts that are unique, that's all going to go into VRAM. So, you know, that all of that kind of that does help. So look up a good balance. If you're not quite sure what to look at, again, look at like PC Part Picker. A lot of those are, I mean, that's gaming PCs. But look at what people are doing in your budget and see what kind of
Yep.
CPU GPU pair they're putting together, and consider that. If your budget's tight, consider AMD. Honestly, I'm running an AMD
Yep.
machine right now, and they're really good. So
I've got an AMD CPU, and it's a pretty old one by now. It's from 2021, and it, you know, it has absolutely no issues running a Libre
yeah.
whatsoever. And Cow Tools, there is a thread. There's a dedicated thread in the forums for that. Pretty well explained, and many messages deep. Really interesting read.
Anyway, guys, I have to head out, but I will see you guys later.
Where's that
Everybody
at?
on the stream, I'll see you later. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time.
We
Bye.
miss you already, Adam.
Bye. Bye.
See ya. See ya. Cheers. Have a good one.
Well, what else have we got?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I tried. Let me not pretend to know. Actually, when I did my master's degree, we actually went through the math, and we even solved like a very simple example, like a 1 meter rod. We a cylindrical rod, and we cut it up in like 8 elements, and we solved it. But I don't remember that much about it. I just remember the high level overview that I gave you guys.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any solid modeling questions or anything like that? Feel free to stick them in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yep.
that's a good one. Yep.
Gosh, well, I think we might be running out of questions here, Costas.
Well, maybe it's because we're doing such a good job of it, right?
Where do I download the KeyShot license that I apparently own with the Libre Expert? Somehow got linked back and forth between websites. Do I need a separate account?
Oh, you download it directly from the Alibre website. I can show you if you know. Yep. Just get the screen. Let me just show you this, guys. Give me a sec. Give me a sec.
Yeah.
I'll get it. I'll get it. So if you go, well, that's the forum. But if you go to Libre and you go to resources and you go to downloads, right? You select your product, PDM update, got it. You just download this. Download it from here. It will pick up you. What this will give you is the correct key shot for your version of Alibre. And once you download that and you fire it up for the first time, it will automatically pick up on your Alibre license and work. So that's where you get it. You don't need to mess about. That's just it.
Thanks. Yeah, I was overcomplicating that question in my head, so glad you took
But
that
that's
one.
what I did, and it works. So
Well, I think that's about it. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I think we are going to be having another FEA platform on that's going to show a full add-in in the future, and we're going to have one of the highest authorities in geometric dimensioning and tolerancing that I think you can find anywhere.
oh
So
man,
stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about that one.
that's a
And
very good one.
here's another one. If the FAQ has run dry, I asked the tail end of a previous live stream, but I think it got cut off. Is there a way to place elements on drawings by coordinates? Oh, that's a good question.
You can sketch in a drawing. Joseph is the master of that, right? But you can open a sketch in the drawing environment, and what you get is the exact same sketch environment you get in the when you're designing a part. So you can dimension off of the origin. And as far as I know, that sketch is the same for the entire sheet. It doesn't change for each view that you're designing. So you can definitely dimension something off of a fixed point on the sheet. And that's what's going to get you. It's like using coordinates, right? Just Alibre selects your the start of your axis, basically, and then you just give it dimensions.
Yeah, that's good. I was thinking about the coordinates associated with 3D Sketch, which could be a little bit interesting. So I'm just already making a file here. Let's go to desktop for that. Oh, I think I have to export it. Sorry, just give me 1 second while I export this. It needs to be a CSV.
Let me see if I can get a quick part going as well.
Yeah, this is fun. We get to.
That's a nice question, by the way. Yeah, so thanks for that.
Yep.
Let's save that on the desktop for now.
Didn't quite export right. Let me try one more time. Well, trying to keep the entertainment up. Tell some jokes in the chat while we work on this. Put your funniest joke in the chat.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Put your funniest joke in the chat, and we'll steal it and say to our friends as if it was ours.
Yes. I think I've told a few jokes on here over the past streams that were pretty funny. Some that fell flat, but either way.
You know, as I always say, there are two kinds of jokes: those that other people, make the jokes that make other people laugh, and the jokes that make you laugh at the faces of the other people that just heard it.
Yes, I don't know if I could tell one of those on the stream. But
Yeah, well, I do have a few, but let's not do it. Okay, we're some interesting questions coming in. Like this one, for some reason,
Oh, did we miss that one?
No, it just came in, and it
Oh, okay.
says, "Is there an easy way to build an assembly that simulates a roller chain path instead of building it a link at a time?" That's an interesting one. Do you want to take that one, there, Joseph?
Uh,
That's a difficult one.
that is a difficult one. I do
May-
have to say,
That might actually be a different guy was working on. Oh
so
man.
this is a
Uh,
family member of mine. This is my wife,
okay.
and I have to
Okay.
say, our daughter, the first story that our daughter has ever told, she
Yeah.
said, once upon a time, a guy was walking along and said,
Yeah.
I would like some lots. And we spent years trying to figure out what lots were. But he says, I would like some lots.
Okay.
And then another guy came and said, not today. And he just bit him. It was, from a
Nice
2-year old.
story. Yeah,
From a 2-year old, it's pretty
that's
funny.
pretty creative, right? Yeah. Okay, there
It
you
was the
go.
first joke
That's
that she ever
interesting.
told. So I really like seeing some good family memories there.
Yep. Inside joke there. Okay, I'm trying to get a drawing going, but I did something. I cannot get a 2D drawing going.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen here,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Sorry, I kind of failed on my side.
no problem. I
I don't know what I did.
Yeah, my approach isn't possibly the best thing either. But what I started thinking was, what if we inserted something by coordinates in the regular file, and then you could scale the drawing to those coordinates, which would be kind of interesting. So insert from file. We got a CSV file here, and so coordinates CSV, right? And then we say, okay, this connected a spline between them, but there's an option to not have a spline too. So I'm wondering if you might be able to get maybe a solid on each node, just a really tiny one that points out the coordinates. But that's a really great question. So yeah, there is also a direct coordinate entry tool in sketch mode and 2D drawing to place sketch figures. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so apparently there's this functionality that I've never used in drawings, but it looks like I asked this question internally, and some people got back to me and told me that there's coordinate entry. So I'm just going to try to figure this out live. I wish I had every answer every time, but here we are. Okay, so for the moving chain question that we had, that's another interesting one because it's like a really advanced version of that slot mechanism. So I don't know if I have the best way of doing it thought out, but I think I would probably initially, off the top of my head, take an approach of make this one link in a chain and do a path pattern of all those elements. And so as the one link moves around this path, the others will update like that. That's what's coming to mind for me, and it's probably not the cleanest, but I don't know if you had anything, Costas. Oh, and I think you might be muted. Sorry,
Oh,
start. You're on mute. Say again.
okay. So I've got a very old video of mine that did performed very badly, but it's basically called "How to Make a Chain," right? And I designed one chain link, and out of it, I use the path pattern in a 3D sketch and make an entire chain, right? Now, if you do that and you update that path, uh, once you get out of the sketch, the pattern will update. So You design the chain link as a single part. You go into an assembly and you do a path pattern in that assembly along a path, and that's how you do that. You can find that video on my channel. It's not a very long one, but at this point, that's about the best the best solution I can think of, unless you actually want to design everything, and do all of the coaxial constraints between the rollers and the carriers and all that. Then it will work as well, right? That will work as well. But if you want to have it like represented, but not actually taking up all that CPU power and resource and all that, and just updating every time, you could do that. And if I can add something on the sketch question that we had earlier.
Yes, please.
Let's say that we have a part like this, right? You see that we've got a button up here that says activate 2D sketch, and it's grayed out. You select a view, and now I can start a 2D sketch. And that 2D sketch is exactly the same tools as I have, well, almost exactly the same tools. We have a few additional ones. As I have in my part sketching environment. So I can make, a line here, and then I can dimension it from over here, I think. Wait. No, that's not how you do that. Let me think. I think I remember. Yeah, that's it. That's the one, isn't it? Activate sketch on sheet. There you go. Oh. Can I edit? There you go. Oh, no, not that one. Yes, there it is. So you see right here, we've got like something like an origin point down here. So if I make a line, right, I can get dimensions. I can get this dimension here, let's do like 80, and I can get this dimension here, and let's do like 125. So if you want to add elements that are not part of your 3D model onto your drawing, right, for whatever reason, and you want them dimensioned in a very specific part of the sheet, that's how you do it, basically, right? So
And then
that's what you need to do. You just right click here and activate a sketch on sheet, and what that'll give you is it'll give you a point to dimension off of down here.
And then I think the mystery thickens because I'm seeing something else that I think we can do a direct coordinate entry. I've never done this in a drawing before, but it looks like it's supported. I'm just trying to figure out how to invoke it. So
okay.
Give me 1
By
second.
the way, Araf gave us a joke. I'm not sure if it's family friendly, but you can read it in the comments. It's a really funny one.
I have to say, OmniCubes is really funny. I don't know if I can show it, but it really shows how engineers think and mathematicians think and the practical differences between the two.
That's a nice one, because that is a very famous paradox. It's what was the philosopher called? It's with a turtle, right? And oh man, now you got me. Oh man, now I need to search. That's a very interesting joke, by the way, right? It goes deep.
It really does. It's funny, and it touches on higher realities all at the same time.
Yeah.
So getting back to this one, thanks for addressing my roller question. Yes, path pattern is pretty interesting here. So I'll hurry and just run through a quick path pattern. You might want to do something like a slot, right? And then let's say that you have a chain link. I'm just going real fast here. to represent this. I'll maybe make a circle somewhere on here and then extrude that circle. So path pattern, I think we introduced this in V28, and I just choose path pattern. I can choose a path object, and then your chain can go along that. So as long as you have the right version of Alibre, you can make a pretty convincing chain, especially if you're not looking for motion. We might have but too many features on that one. So
yeah. And can I just say, Jason Reen bit me to it. That's Zeno's paradox. So that's a nice joke because, Omnicube's joke uses Zeno's paradox, which is a very famous philosophical question. I love it. I love it. Thanks, Omnicube.
thanks to all you guys for posting good content. Yeah, like and subscribe. And this your own channel's great resources and learning tools there. Might be good to post a link.
Well, let me just see if I can post a link to that chain video of mine.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I need
Post
to find
a link
it
to your
first.
channel too.
Well, let me tell you, I don't think I can. Oh, I've got the. I need to. Yeah, I need to get the link to you, Joseph, and then you can post it. But
yeah, please do.
but this is the link to the video, and they can catch up on the channel as soon as they get there. I don't want to flood the chat with links to my content. One is enough.
Well, I just did so.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's see. So this is the chain video. I'll go ahead and put that in for you.
Yep. Oh man, that was an old one.
It's amazing how they can stay relevant.
Yeah. That's from September 18th, 2023. That video called "How to Model a 3D Chain." Yeah.
All right, checking in Teams here. Okay, perfect. I think.
Oh, I think I see the actual button. Isn't that it?
Yeah.
Left of the insert symbol. Insert. Yeah, that one. Yeah, there you go.
It's great for me though, so I'm actually chatting with people internally right now, trying to figure
Maybe
out.
start a line. Maybe get a line going, and then it'll start the line command, and then it'll let you. If it's anything
there it
like,
is.
if it's anything like the
direct coordinate entry.
Direct coordinate entry. There you go. That's so cool. And thank you for that question, because even we learned something here.
This is so great to have your guys' questions and figure this out.
I mean, yeah, that's a part of community, isn't it? And you have that tool in the whole feature as well, mind you, guys. Right. So when you start a whole feature in your 3D model, when you're 3D modeling a part, you can place the node for the whole with direct coordinate entry as well. So keep that in mind.
That's great. So it looks like I'm betting I can do a circle whose center is, coordinate driven here. Oh, that's cool.
There you go. That is cool, isn't it? Yeah.
All right. So I've learned something new from you guys. Thank you so much for asking. And thank you, Bill Black. You're our best ally sometimes.
Yeah. It was about 65. Yep, there you go. There you go.
What will work for things like text annotations or views, or just for sketch objects and similar?
I imagine it will, especially the leader one. That'll be useful, right?
Yep.
Text node with a leader. That'd be.
Yeah. Um,
Oh,
I'm,
it's grayed
I'm
out, isn't it?
yeah, I'm kind of reading that as text annotations. It looks like
But
for
you know what
text
you could
and
do? You could just do a line, right, with the coordinates you want. Put in your text annotation, put the leader onto that line, then delete the line.
that's kind of where I was thinking too. Great minds think alike, sir.
Of course, of course. I've picked up a couple of things by watching your videos, Joseph.
Appreciate it. Let's see here. 5 and 6. Set my point down. I think I have to set the point down and then do the coordinate here. Yeah, so get a line or a point like that and get that coordinate
Yep.
driven.
And then just delete that auxiliary geometry. Yeah, that should work.
Well, that is fantastic. Great to see everybody on here. Are we out of questions? We're about an hour and a half in. No temporary freezing this time, so that's a good sign.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. We're about at that point.
Well, I think that's probably about it for us. So, guys,
Okay.
thank you so much for
Give
watching.
Do you want me
Oh,
to give you a joke before we go? One of mine.
please.
It's not a very good one, but there are 3 scientists stranded on a boat out in the middle of the ocean, and they only have one can, right? And they can't get it open. It's a physicist, a chemist, and a mathematician, right? And the physicist says, "Well, let's think about this. We'll apply force there, and that will concentrate the pressure. It will increase, and it'll open." And he does all that, and it fails. And then the chemist says, "Well, we'll use like the salt water and the sunlight, and it will corrode the metal, and we'll open it." He does that, and he also fails. And the mathematician says, "Well, let me try. Let's suppose that the can is open. Now let's think about eating it." That's it.
I love it. I love
That's
it.
it. So sorry for that, guys. On that note, cheers.
Thanks a lot, guys, and we will see you in the next one.